Well, good morning. Today, I am finally going to go through the Kubernetes Starter ingress with probes and auto scaling. Um, I put this tutorial together in hopes of helping others learn and get up to speed on Kubernetes, and just to have a little fun and put some uh, well-documented uh, instructional out there. So let's see here. Um, so it's actually going to be multi-part. I got it split up into different sections as far as the documentation is concerned, starting from getting set up, why exactly, all the way to getting the container set up, to actually deploying the container into Kubernetes, setting up our config maps and secrets, getting ingress enabled, and then finally getting HPA going and actually demonstrating the scaling capabilities, and also the downscale. Now that one's a little bit different because I'm not putting the time difference in there to allow it to kind of come back down, but I suppose we can do that on live. We really wanted to try it. Do apologize for my voice. Season change is coming, and allergies are crazy. So I do apologize for that. Um, let's see here. Is there anything I wanted to cover in here? I guess I can kind of go over um, how the layout of this is going to be. Let's see if I can get this where it's halfway viewable here. It might be better to pull it up in Mermaid. I have ever since I found Mermaid, all these charts are super easy to make. It is awesome. Oh, well, there's one already here. Uh, I love it. You just write the stuff and it just generates um, uh, the diagram for you, and you have different choices. You can modify it. You can. It's much better than drawing a picture for me. Writing the code and generating the diagram is so nice. If you haven't given it a try, I would totally recommend doing so. But anyways, the layout that we have here is we're going to have our individual pods. This is actually the pod API A and API B. This is where our container are noted. And so the deployment is going to generate by default 2 replicas. And it will have 2 different, it'll have a config map to set the configuration inside of those containers. It will also show how to load secrets into those containers. We'll also enable a service so we can actually have ingress talk to our deployment of those containers. And we'll also load a TLS so we can have HTTPS. So that's going to be super awesome. And then, of course, there's one part of this I'm not doing as part of the tutorial, which is the cert manager. I'm going to break that up into its own small tutorial after the fact. And of course, you have your HPA talking to your metric server, and this is how it's going to actually scale up the deployment. And so, yeah, let's get into it. So the first thing is this repository is set up as like a tutorial. And so one of the everything, the complete build and configuration, the end goal is all set up inside of main. But if you want to follow along, there is a starter repository, and that contains everything except for it contains all the documentation, but it doesn't contain any of the manifests or anything like that. So you can actually follow along, build it up, and as part of this tutorial, I will be going through and creating tags so you can compare what you currently have against the particular step. And I just hit my computer arm because if you can't tell, this is not my normal daily interaction with putting video out there, but I think it'd be interesting. So I'll actually get to see you. All right. So we'll start with our prereqs. Of course, you got to have Docker installed. You have to have kubectl installed and minikube. I'm pretty sure if you install minikube, it'll automatically have some of these things installed, but I can't remember off the top of my head what those are. But I will tell you that there's very easy documentation to get you set up and going, but I already have all of this going. As a matter of fact, I am going to delete everything inside of minikube right now, so I can start fresh and follow along. And the other thing I probably need to do is do this in another window. Is to turn off all my other Docker containers that I have going. I probably have, yeah, I had quite a few. Let's see. Quite a few actually, very. So let's get those stopped. All right. One thing I do like to do is, because we're going to be talking directly to minikube, that's going to be like our that's all of our Kubernetes setup is going to be, and our kubectl, that's where we're going to send all those commands. So we're just going to create a quick alias for ourselves, so we don't have to keep typing minikube in front of everything, and you know that I'd much rather just do this and set an aliases for there. But I'm not going to go as far as to actually add it to my bash RC or anything, because if I'm actually communicating to a deployed Kubernetes instance, I don't want to be typing minikube in front of that. All right. But you could, if it's annoying, you open up a bunch of terminals while going through this, you may want to do that, but I wouldn't. I just wouldn't. Okay, no server found for minikube. That is because we haven't added anything. So let's go ahead and do that. Coffee. And as it's just kind of going through generating our instance for our Docker container, this is substantially slower than usual. I think it's because I have OBS going and everything. But you know, just kind of sitting here waiting. And waiting, and waiting, and waiting, and waiting. Cool. All right. Let's see what we got. All right, now we have some namespaces. Now we have some nodes. This is all the system stuff. So this is the default, the queue, node leases, the public, all that belongs to Kubernetes. And we don't need to mess with any of those. So one of the first things we'll end up doing is creating our own namespace, so we can put everything in our nice little namespace, which is really good practice in general, because then you're only messing with the stuff that pertains to that namespace. And so you, for instance, if you're in a development environment, you can call it development. For this instance, we're actually probably going to call it hello, because it'll be the entirety of this tutorial inside of here. All right, so next thing I want to do, I want to make sure that we have Ingress enabled, because that's going to be something that we're going to do a little bit later. And every time you delete everything out of minikube, you're going to have to add these. Because as you can see, after I deleted them, they were not there anymore. Because otherwise you would have saw the additional nodes and everything. All right. There's our, I'm sorry, I meant the pods. Oh, Oh, Ingress. Duh. All right, it's running. Good to go. The next thing I said, we would enable Cert Manager. Again, I'm going to do that in the follow-up, so you don't necessarily have to do that right now. And of course, the next thing I would want to do is add a nice little Etsy host entry. And this is so when we actually go do the testing, we don't have to type the IP address every time. And we can just type we can type the web address. So we have 192.168.49.2. Let's see, what do I have already in here? 49.2. So I'm not going to re-add that, but all that does is add a line into your Etsy host file. So you can type hello.local as opposed to 192.168.49.2. And then, of course, prepending some type of host onto it so the Ingress knows where to send you. So we'd rather not do that. All right, cool. Everything's set up. Now we can move on to actually creating the container. So our container is going to be really simple. It's just a FastAPI service that we created in Python. We're going to put this directly into our app directory as main.py. Let's see here. So let's go over this for just a little bit. So we did use the Pydantic typing, and I'll show you there's a really good reason for that in a minute. Although it's overkill for what we're doing, it's still good practice. It's still it's a little showy just for the documentation purposes, and we'll kind of go over that in a minute. All right, so we have our greeting data type. We have our secret info and our app info. And basically, we're just creating that data and then presenting in our output as JSON format. And if you notice here, we're actually getting environment variables. And we will populate these with config variables inside of Kubernetes later. So then we can modify these on the fly. Well, on the fly, you'd have to redeploy the pods, but because they're environment variables, but fairly close. And so anyways, we have our app message, we have our app mode. Host name is not going to be something that we change. It's just to kind of demonstrate that when we get it running, you could see the different hosts as you're loading the page. So you know that you're hitting a different machine when you're kind of going through there. And the next one is actually loading a secret into the machine. So you can see the difference between loading a secret and a configuration. And then we have our health check, and this is so that Ingress knows that the pod is still healthy and ready to go. And our live check, so that Ingress knows to add it to, that it was ready and it's ready to be added to our load balancer. Excuse me, my nose is running a little bit, so I do apologize for that. Okay, here we go. So now we have our app, and then we have a Docker file. Do I have? Now I meant to leave the requirements. Yes, okay, cool. I left the requirements. So I didn't break out the requirements document directly into the instructional. I just kind of left it in there. So I just want to make sure it was there. Okay, Docker file. All right, what are we doing here? All right, so of course we're loading from the official Python Docker Hub. So we have Python 3.12 Slim, and we're loading it as a build container. And this is so that we can load up all of our all of the requirements to actually get Python up and running. And so we can actually do a compile all on our app and all that good jazz. So we actually installing way more stuff than we would want or need in production once everything's up and going. So what we do is we split it into two, split it into a multi-stage build. And so we build the container, compile our app, and get all the things that we need. And then we turn around and actually load the build artifacts and all the stuff that we need out of the build container into our runtime container, and then that is what we deploy. Um, and so um, that is a nice little add-on here. This is way overkill for what we're doing, but it's good practice to kind of get to know what's going on. All right, so of course, let's go through here, just kind of go one by one. Let's still take a look at this. Environment variables. So of course we don't necessarily want our PyYC or PyC bytecode files written, so we wanted to turn that off. And then of course our Python buffered. Oh man. Oh my goodness. Now this one, I think this is more just, I saw this with the containers. So this one I'm a little less knowledgeable about. Okay, we just don't, we just want to make sure we see all the good stuff. Okay. All right, and then of course we do app install for our GCC, and then we install our build essentials, so we actually have a make file and all the good stuff, and then we trash our um, uh, all the repository side effects, artifacts and things that we don't need anymore because we're not going to be updating anymore. We're not going to be installing anything anymore. So we just kind of drop that to make it even smaller. And then we have our work directory, which is our app. And then we copy our requirements document into our container. And then we actually run Python virtual environment and do the install and upgrade of pip. So we install all of our requirements and everything that we need to get everything going. And then we copy everything inside of our that's inside of our current directory into our app directory. Probably should have just done that there. I might do that. Oh, and then we run compile all on our app and get that going. And then we started a brand new container for our runtime. And here's one part I definitely wanted to discuss was making sure that inside the container that we are using a static UID and a static GID. And so this kind of limits our because by default, anytime you have one of the containers inside of a Docker, that you're going to run as root, just by default. And and while everything is sandbox, everything is secure, is like this kind of like an extra, just in case measure, and a super simple thing to do. And it prevents, if something was compromised on the system, it prevents them from installing stuff, prevents them from writing directories that we don't want anything written to, because first of all, the app itself doesn't need to be doing that. And if it doesn't need to be doing it, then it shouldn't be doing it. We always take that stance when it comes to security in general. It's like if something shouldn't, then we don't let it. Just as um, as just standard SOPs. Like if it shouldn't, then don't let it. Is really all that is. And so we just don't do it. So we automatically disable. Well, we don't disable. We give it a user and a group that is basically not allowed to do anything and can launch the app, and that's all we're doing with it. Excuse me. All right, so then we copy from our build container into our app container the virtual environment that we have there. And then we also copy the contents of our app. and then we set the path for our environment. And then we basically shown the app to our well-defined user and group. And then we turn around and expose our port, and we launch it using UVcorn as the HTTP server with their main app. So if all goes well after our build, let's see here, we should be good to go. Let's see here. Oh, that was really fast. I probably should have deleted it first. Let's do that. Docker, was it removed? Docker image. Is it RM? RM image? That is just RM. All right, come on. You can tell I don't delete them very often. Oh, okay. Fine, fine, fine. Images. This will be fun. All right, I guess I gotta use hash. No such. Oh, that's container. I need to delete the image. All right, all right. This is me being lazy. Image art. That's too early for this. Is it running? Oh, it's running. Hold on. It is not running. Okay, weird. It wasn't running anywhere that I can tell. Guess we'll find out in a minute. Huh. You shouldn't have to force them out. That means it's probably running somewhere, or it's not running anywhere. But that means there's an image that's still using it. There's a container still using it, but I don't. It doesn't matter. Like we'll clean those out later, anyways. All right, cool. All right, now let's build it again. Docker. Oh, Docker build -t hello app. And of course, the new 1.0. Yeah, there we go. All right, cool. Now we actually have something going. And then we should be able to see that we have, oh crap, I hate when I do that. Should see our container, our image is actually there. And so now we can get we can get it running. So let's see what we got. So we should be able, there we go. So we should be able to go to localhost. And of course, you're not going to be able to go to the 8080 just because, oh, I lied. Oh, if I did put the port in there. So I guess I can. So of course we see here we have the message that the default messages that we have, and then we have the secrets which are unset, and then our nice little host name for our container. So you can see that going. And so the next step, do I have enough time? I might have enough time. Let's see if I can do that. Oh, I did want to show these off. This is part of the thing that I was talking about with why we wanted to use the pydantic typing. That is, it's kind of funny, punny, if I will, the pydantic library. So it allows you to create that static typing for these data types. And so here's the cool part. You got the schemas actually load out into the API, which I thought was pretty awesome. And so here's our endpoints. So here's our health check, here's our life check, and here's our hello. And inside of here, you can actually see the schema of the data types when they come out of here. So this is really nice to me. The whole thing is really nice to me because it's automatically self-documenting as you're writing everything that's in there. And my head's getting cut off. I don't know why, because I had this set up so it wouldn't do that. So let's just pull that down a little bit. It's almost like our camera zoomed in or something. Let's see here. The delay in the other videos is driving me nuts. There we go. It's not too bad, I guess. Go this way. Okay. Probably should get an actual camera instead of using the laptop one, but whatever. It'll be okay. It will be okay. All right. And all right, here's our health check where it just kind of returns the string. Oh, I know I had this set up where we return a data type. Why is it not? You know what? I bet you I did not fix it the other day when I did it. So let's go ahead and do that really quickly just because I would prefer it to be fixed. And there it is. It's not actually there. So this gives me an opportunity to show you how to make a change in the container. All right. Because if we just did that, you're not going to see it in here. Like the change is not going to be inside the container. We actually have to rebuild it. And of course, if we were to just simply, see, still a string. Well, that's right. So that's the status. Where's this one? This one is in. Yeah, okay. So let's make a change. It's good practice to do it. Let's shut it off. And then let's do, anytime you make a change, I highly recommend you bumping the version number, especially when you're dealing with Kubernetes. That way you can do the rollouts because you'll have a real hard time replacing the image inside the container if you don't, for instance, in this particular case, we don't have it set on automatically pull or anything, so you can't just issue it a redeploy and it just pulls it down. So with the versions, you can actually point to a specific particular build, and you don't have to worry about trying to replace the current image because it's being used everywhere. So the versioning helps us out a lot, especially doing it local development and in production. Because if we didn't bump that version and we had loaded into a kube control or anything like that, I'm sorry, inside a minikube, then you would actually have to like force it out of there to do the replacement, especially if it's something already running. We'd actually have to stop the whole thing to push out a new one, and we don't want to do that. So we can actually just create a new version, And now if we load that new version, if you notice, it's super fast because the way Docker is, it'll anything that didn't change, it's just going to keep it. So essentially, just recopied the file into there, so no biggie. All right, let's see here. Yay, status. We have status now. Yay, status. All right, cool. So everything's up and running. That's awesome. All right. Is there anything else? We actually have to load the image into kubectl because at the moment it's just sitting in our local Docker repository. So we actually have to load it into minikube. So let's load our, well, in this particular case, our 1.1 version. But of course, if you had already built it, or if you plan on going through this, it would still be 1.0 because I'll have that fixed in the actual repository. Fixed. Hopefully, if I remember this time. Last time I totally forgot. Really? Got a bot in here? That's not cool. All right. Come on, load it up. Load it up. Cool. And we're just going to try to make sure it's there. That is if you were to just build it directly in there. We're not doing that. Just make sure it's there. Yes, it is. 1.1 is there. And yeah, we're pretty much done with this particular section. Like I said, well, we just kind of demonstrated this development workflow. If we were to make changes to the main.py, you know what? I might actually just leave that error in there and kind of give it like an instruction, add to this and talk about like making that change. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Leave me a comment on the video. I don't see anybody viewing right now, but later, if you're viewing this, you could leave me a comment and give me some suggestions for that, or and then make a decision for that one. But you would rebuild the image like we did, load it back in, you bump your version number, and then reload it in into Kubernetes. See, I told you, I love Mermaid. Look at this. This is beautiful. Just creating a diagram for very simple things, just as a visual cue. No other particular reason other than, excuse me, I'm sorry. Time to go wake up the kids and stuff. All right. So our next time that we get together here, we'll actually go over deploying our containers into Kubernetes and start going through that. So if you want to follow along, this is at Cade's Hello -app under ground level on GitHub. It's already all documented there. So if you want to skip along, you go ahead and pick it up and give it a shot. You can totally do that. This is me just trying to put some videos together along with the tutorial and getting it out there and providing a nice tutorial for getting set up on Kubernetes so you can actually see everything working and going, because I know it's getting that first step in on-ramping onto Kubernetes is kind of a tall leap. But once we get there, it was super awesome. All right. Well, anyways, everyone have a wonderful rest of your day. I do appreciate you joining me today. Have a good one.